All right, we're going to begin the Rules Committee meeting. Date is Monday, February 2nd. We're going to roll call in just to have our quorum on the record. So if you could call the roll call, please.
Yep. Okay. Councilmember Davis? Here. Councilmember Rogers?
Here.
Councilmember Harris?
Here.
Councilmember Kelly? Here. Councilmember Harris?
Present.
Councilmember Isles?
Here.
Councilmember Nusma?
Here.
Mayor Biss?
Here.
Councilmember Suffredin?
Here.
Councilmember Burns?
I am here. Seeing that we have a quorum, we can conduct our business. Next up, we have public comment. We have one person who has signed up to provide public comment in person, and that is Jeff Barini. Yes, indeed. Good to see you.
How are you tonight? Thanks, everybody. Jeff Carini, Second Ward. I wanted to urge you to retain the two-thirds majority for decisions on acting mayor, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's one of the most significant decisions that this council can make. And two-thirds majority is required for a lot of other things that probably don't measure up nearly as importantly as who the acting mayor might be. Some of the argument from the last meeting was, well, you know, we're not sure about state statutes on this thing. We don't know if we can do this or not. The city applies its home rule status freely, often as a get-out-of-jail card. So we've been consistent in our inconsistency as to whether or not we defer to state statutes or decide to follow home rule on this. Another argument was that, well, you know, this particular council often has a 5-4 split on issues, particularly on contentious issues, and that we'll never agree on who that was a quote from somebody. But that's the beauty of the two-thirds majority. It means you have to compromise. This is what residents expect of you, to debate the issues and come up with a reasonable compromise and select someone that is the best decision that you can possibly make. So I think that's what's great about it, is that the two-thirds majority ensures that this council and councils in the future have to go beyond any voting blocks that might exist, whether real or imagined or intentional or whatever. So that's my thought. I urge you to consider that. Thank you.
Next up is Devon Reed. It does not look like he's online, so we'll go to the next person is Keir Kelly.
Hi. So tonight, from what I understand, City Council plans to approve revisions to the City of Evanston's council rules. And these are rules that this body has worked on and approved over many meetings. And in June, this council adopted a two-thirds majority requirement to select acting mayor. That was a considered decision and it should be respected. And unfortunately, it's a bit troubling that the most vocal advocate for overturning this rule, Alderman Nusma, who made quite an impassioned case to revoke the two-thirds rule at the last October rules meeting, is also widely understood to want the acting mayor position himself. And I just believe that when a council member stands to potentially benefit, leads this charge, residents are right to ask questions. And it's just not a good look for the council, and it really undermines public trust. We've also been told that a two-thirds vote is unnecessary, it's unworkable. But in fact, I would argue that Evanston's circumstances demand a two-thirds threshold, not a simple majority. The argument's been made no other municipality requires a supermajority right now, but that ignores Evanston's reality. We have a closely divided council. We have a reliable mayoral voting block where nearly every consequential vote feels like a foregone conclusion. And we really face the real risk that the acting mayor could be selected with minimal buy-in and give that person a significant political advantage going forward. And I believe, as Jeff Berini said, council can keep working if it's 2/3 majority until it reaches agreement, and maybe we need a little more of that. There's tools available, there's ranked choice voting. We've seen other public bodies like District 65 work through contentious issues like which school to close, and they were at an impasse, and they did. They found consensus. The council can do the same. I know that we all know now state law does not prohibit a majority home rule. It's perfectly acceptable. Further, this is not a routine appointment. It places extraordinary authority in the hands of someone who's not been elected, and this person should be able to earn the support of one additional council member. We require the same or higher for many things in our system, even our downtown Christmas lights. So I think a position as important as the mayor can at least be as important as our downtown Christmas lights. Also, I want to address Mayor Biss directly. At a recent Northwestern forum, you committed to, if you win your 9th congressional race, that you would resign in time to trigger a special election. So it minimizes the period in which Evanston has an unelected mayor. Based on the city's outside guidance I just read in the packet, that must occur by about mid-November. So we really hope and expect that promise to be honored. Yes. So also, council members often said during the comprehensive plan, we just need to pass this. And so I would ask them, go ahead and pass it. This has been, a lot of time has been spent on this. These are duly, elect approvals through our system. And there's a deeply concerning pattern of the majority bloc revisiting and overturning settled decisions, specifically the very few you did not win. And this is new to me. I've been watching council meetings for years, and I don't remember previous councils governing this way. And I hope that it changes. Anyway, well, thanks very much for the time. This seems like a lot of time here. And thanks for listening. Bye.
The next speaker is Lori Keenan.
Hi, my name is Lori Keenan, and I live in the 7th Ward. I had hoped that I hung my jersey way, way up into the rafters and had been able to retire from city council and rules meetings. But I'm speaking here tonight because I saw this moment coming years ago. It's why I ran for mayor against Daniel Biss 2 elections ago, and why Jeff Berini ran against him in the last election. From the start, it's been clear this role is a political stepping stone for Biss, not a long-term commitment to Evanston. In fact, Biss won the election on April Fool's Day, was sworn in April 28th, and announced his candidacy for Jan Schakowsky's seat on May 15th. Our city has paid the price, first through his ambitions while in office, and now through the legacy he hopes to leave as he influences the rules here tonight about his successor. This council often splits 5-4, with the 5 frequently aligned with council members who are initially Biss-appointed members. In fact, by initially appointing Councilmember Herrick Harris, knowing that he must regularly recuse himself from any vote involving Northwestern, Biss effectively gave himself the tie-breaking vote on any town gown issue. The rule under discussion, which was discussed last June, 2 weeks or so after Biss's candidacy was announced for Jan's seat, the rule was that it would require a 2/3 majority vote, or 6 votes, to select a temporary or acting mayor. This is an important safeguard. It ensures broad consensus, not control by a narrow majority. It was agreed to last June. However, now that the rule might actually apply, there's talk of changing it. That's just wrong. Rules exist exactly for moments like this and shouldn't be unduly influenced for further political expediency. Rewriting rules when they become inconvenient undermines public trust and feels more like Washington politics than Evanston governance. On an issue as important as this, we must raise the threshold for approval or consensus, not lower it. Enough is enough. If we're unwilling to follow the supermajority rule as written, then let's pursue a fair alternative. Let's appoint Jeff Barini, or let's select the longest-serving council member, Tom Suffredin, or let's allow the residents to decide through a special election. I mean, if we're going to vote to change the rules, then let's really change them. But let's stop gaming the system to produce preferred outcomes. Evanston residents deserve transparency, fairness, and respect. Rules matter, especially at moments like this. Let's honor them. Thank you.
The next speaker is Meg Welch.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Ms. Welch, we can hear you. I think you're currently muted if you're speaking, Ms. Welch.
Hello?
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So this matter was voted on previously, and I don't agree with bringing it back for a vote. One of the people on the Rules Committee did mention to someone who emailed about it that the previous vote was for political reasons. And I really snorted, honestly, when I read that, as if bringing it back is not for political reasons, please. There are, aside from just political considerations, there are good, sound reasons to have a 2/3 majority for such a weighty vote. Certain contracts require 2/3 of a vote, and this is a far more weighty matter. And I would also argue that a 2/3 majority really represents more than of the will of the Evanston voters, since more of our elected representatives are deciding the vote. So I really think this is a bad look to bring this back, and I urge you to just move on. It's a settled matter. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think Ms. Connolly has her hand up. Did you want to speak, Ms. Connolly?
Yes, I would. Thank you. I'm sorry, I failed to sign up. Tricia Conley, Second Ward. I would just echo every single person who spoke on this issue about getting a supermajority in regard to who is going to be our acting mayor. This is sound. It makes good sense. And you are actually doing right by the community in doing that. And you are showing that you might have to grapple and struggle with this. That's okay. We want the best outcome for the residents here. I would imagine you all do. So let's stick with what was decided and move on accordingly. Thank you.
All right, would anybody else like to make a public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, that brings us to minutes. If somebody can make a motion to approve the minutes, please.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any changes? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? All right, we have approved minutes. Now to items for consideration. If someone could move R1, please. Oh, I'm sorry. We would like to start with R5, if everybody is okay with that. If somebody can move R5, please.
I'll move approval of council rules for the 82nd City Council.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, and we have a staff presentation. Liza, thank you.
Good
evening, Chair Burns, members of the committee. I can briefly walk through the 4 items identified in the memo.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Items for consideration this evening. I think probably the logical place to start is with the procedural questions that we tabled at the last meeting. As you may recall, there was kind of a question about whether the committee could revisit a vote previously taken on an aspect of the rules if the rules document as a whole remained open for consideration and hadn't received a final vote. There was some procedural confusion, and so we tabled that to allow advice from Corporation Counsel. Assuming that those procedural questions are answered in a way that allows us to move to the substantive questions, the second item up on the agenda this evening is 2 substantive questions related to the acting mayor provision. One is whether the city council can limit, consistent with state law, who can serve as acting mayor, and then the second is whether the acting mayor should be selected by a 2/3 supermajority or a majority vote. And then the other substantive question that we tabled before resolution of the procedural issues is around adjournment time. The current draft before you says that the council will adjourn no later than 10, executive session will adjourn no later than 11, but the council can move to extend those timeframes. And I think the question is, does it make sense for us to have some kind of time limit in the rules, or do we want to continue with our current approach? And then the last item is an open motion from the last meeting where Councilmember Kelly moved to amend the conflict of interest section to apply to both conflicts of interest, which is in the current draft, and also the appearance of a conflict of interest. And we tabled that again for advice from Corporation Counsel. So that's sort of the lay of the land. And I think if we want to start, if the chair wants to start with the procedural questions, I think Council Ruggie is prepared to rule on that.
Yes, let's do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the Rules Committee, Chair Burns, Alex Ruggie, Corporation Counsel. Thank you for the question. So I believe it was a little bit convoluted whether or not we could do whether or not the City Council could, or the Rules Committee rather, could do a motion to reconsider an item previously voted on. As you all are aware, the City Council rules as they stand currently don't actually apply to standing committees. So the rules for a motion to reconsider do not apply in this instance for this committee. When a committee does not have its own rules to follow, it falls back on Robert's rules. Robert's rules is not as specific on a motion to reconsider. It essentially allows you to do it at that meeting or a subsequent meeting, but it also allows for a motion to rescind. So a person, a member of the committee can make a motion to rescind the prior vote. So that would be procedurally allowable. I would just say that I think it's a discussion for this group as you're discussing the rules, whether or not when you have a discussion item, whether or not as you discuss it, similar to you did how the council did during the comprehensive plan, if during that discussion you can revisit items before the committee while it's still a discussion item. I would just note that this change in the rules comes before the Rules Committee for a final vote as it is now, so a motion to amend is allowable. It'll also come for a final vote to the City Council, where in which the council would be able to amend at that time as well. So there's a lot of opportunities for amendments. So, I defer to the council on how you want to move procedurally through this. If during a discussion item, you want to be able to revisit items that you've already discussed. I know that was how it was handled during the comprehensive plan. A lot of items previously discussed were brought up again and again. So this would be similar to that.
Questions? Just trying to make sure nobody, okay. So I'm trying to understand when it's rescind and when it's an amendment. I don't think I understand that yet.
I think my advice would be if it was a final vote, you can rescind it, but because you have opportunities where it's going to come before the committee and the council again, you can amend it at a later date. So I think in this instance, either would have been appropriate.
And are you saying we will rescind if it's at council, though? If it was at council, we would rescind or no?
No, at the committee level, you could rescind a prior vote
Okay.
to negate the vote, or you can do an amendment.
Either or.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that was my understanding. It doesn't seem like there's any confusion around it today, which I'm happy about because I was a little confused at the fact that at least one person said they had never seen us do that. We make amendments to things all the time. And if we need to clarify that, I was ready to like make a motion this evening. It doesn't seem like that's necessary, but that happens all the time. We should be able to make amendments all the way up until final council approval. That's where reconsideration comes in. But at the earlier stages, it's just always been the practice of the council for that amendments are in order. So it doesn't sound like anybody's questioning that this evening. And so that's helpful. If there aren't any follow-up questions, you want to go on to the next one? All right, thank you.
The next one, Liza, can you remind me? I forget the order it was.
Yeah, so if we want to follow the structure laid out in the memo, I think the next question is the acting mayor question.
Okay, thank you. And I have it right in front of me. I apologize. For the acting mayor, so the law department did reach out to Ansel Glink for their formal opinion on this matter. And the question posed, I think it's twofold. One, if the city council can restrict within its rules an acting mayor from running for mayor. And then the flip, if anyone running for mayor could be prohibited from becoming acting mayor. And so when Ansel Glink looked at this, they opined that for either option, it would require a referendum. So the city council can do that via referendum, but we cannot do it via a rule change. So if the referendum were to pass, that would be acceptable as it's a change of the Illinois law. So,
questions? And can you, I know Dirk sent something over recently responding to a question about whether or not council could change the vote threshold to appoint a mayor. Could you speak to that briefly?
absolutely. So in looking at whether or not the vote threshold can be changed, that can be changed. So supermajority is allowable under law. There's nothing in the statute that prohibits a home rule municipality from amending the vote threshold. It also doesn't specify. So with acting mayor, it specifies the requirements to become acting mayor, and it's a sitting council member, has to be voted upon by the council, but it doesn't say whether or not it's a majority or a supermajority. So it was Dirk Price's and Ansel Glink's opinion that that threshold can be changed, although I think he did suggest that he does not recommend it.
Still not seeing any questions. So, and I'm sorry to pick on Jeff, but it was brought up in public comment. So we couldn't appoint Jeff Barini as as a interim mayor.
No, that's not possible. It has to be a member of the city council that's already seated.
And the only reason why I'm saying that is because there was somebody at public comment. I think there's this belief that all of this is kind of done on a whim, and there's a very obviously specific statute that determines what can and cannot be done. And so it is not just open for us to decide as a body what we feel like doing, which is why we not only sought your opinion, but also a second opinion, which I think we all appreciate. Any questions before we move on? Seeing none. The next one.
I think the next one is the adjournment time, and so I don't think you're looking for legal input on that.
I think we should discuss it. Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The adjournment time, I will toss that back to the Rules Committee.
How do you think we should handle it? You want to just start going through? Do we need a motion for that, okay, so if somebody then can make a motion on, you're talking about the manner of selection, right, that question? No, the supermajority versus, yeah. If somebody wants to make a motion on, well, I thought we already approved that, though. So we don't need anything for that, do we still need to vote for it if we already voted for it?
That's up to you guys. That was the question, is if
Oh, okay. So if somebody wants to, I think what we already voted on is that it will require, a supermajority will be required to select and appoint an interim mayor. If somebody would like to revisit that, this will be the opportunity to make that motion. Councilmember House.
I'll make a motion to revisit the 2/3. Do I get to give my reasons now, or do I have to wait and see if I get a second?
So, yeah, you want to restate your motion?
I want to revisit the threshold for selecting. I think it should be just a simple majority for selecting an acting mayor.
All right, that's the motion.
Revisit is not an actual motion, so it would have to be either to rescind or reconsider.
Okay, reconsider. I make a motion. It's fine. Let's do it by the rules.
Council Ruggie.
So you can do a motion to rescind the prior vote, or you can make an amendment.
All right, I make a motion to rescind the 2/3 majority requirement to select an acting mayor.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been seconded by Councilmember Harris.
I want to talk about it.
Yeah,
just
go
a
ahead.
little bit. So this is something that we did fairly regularly in our comp plan debate. I was on vacation when this decision was made. I'd made plans for that vacation before I was even elected. And so I was not here, which is part of why I'd like to reconsider it. No other community in Illinois has a 2/3 threshold. The city manager doesn't require a 2/3 threshold, and no offense to Mayor Biss, but I think that in our form of government, city manager is the more important position. So,
Point of information, the city manager does require a 2/3 vote.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, my bad.
Just as a point of information, Council Ruggie, what's the threshold to appoint an interim, though? Isn't that also defined somewhere?
Well,
and you can continue, Councilmember.
My apologies if I misspoke. Last time we had this debate, I remember hearing that.
You can continue for now, and then Council Ruggie is doing some research.
I'm fine for now.
Anyone else? Councilmember Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that while we can always reconsider things, I think we were very restrained in the comprehensive general plan on litigating matters on which we lost. That being the we that voted, the four voted against it. I was hoping we would enter into the same spirit in this debate, that yes, we always can if the motion is approved, and we will relitigate matters. I will relitigate every matter that comes before us on which I lose. That is something that is in our prerogatives to do. I also think it's very interesting that we feel as a committee, as a council, that we can't get a 2/3 majority for one of us who sits up here to become an acting mayor for a 5-month period. I mean, I don't know who's interested in this position, who's not interested in this position, but if I were interested in this position, I would work hard to get a 6th vote if this were to carry and be enacted as a 2/3 majority. I do think that in a body such as ours, that should be something that should be easy to do, and we should be able to do that. In regards to, we're the only city that doesn't do this. We're the only city in the state of Illinois that does a lot of things. We pride ourselves on the fact that we are the only ones who do this, or we're the only ones to do that, or we're the first ones to do this, or the last, or, we're never the last, we're never the second, we're always right at the cutting edge.
Absolutely.
And so for us to rely on the fact that, well, no one else in the state does it, we've been on the cutting edge of so many things. And I just don't take that as a legitimate argument that no one else does it, so therefore we can't.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Yeah, I guess I'm asking for clarification, and Alex, I don't know if this is you or Mayor Biss in your day job, but when we're talking about a 2/3 vote, that's 6 votes total, including someone presumably voting for themselves.
That's correct.
So in order to meet the 2/3 threshold, you would need to get 5 other people to vote for you.
That's correct.
And then to meet the simple majority threshold, you need to get 4 other people.
Yes.
Okay. Just, it sounds like when we talk about switching from a simple majority to 2/3, that's a big leap. And in a larger body, it certainly is. But with this number of electors, it's one additional person who isn't you. And I just think that that should be clear. You know, it isn't like an extraordinary majority. It's you need to get one other person to vote for you. And that's all. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one, what I'll say is I'm not gonna vote for this to be rescinded today. I actually believe that that for the same reasons why we can't, well, opinion was provided on why we can't include a requirement about whether or not somebody can be appointed interim mayor while also planning to or decide wanting to run for the next election. I think for that same reason that this is not appropriate. I don't know if Dirk had the same amount of time to review this as he did the other, because we just got his opinion on it. And so although I'm not going to support rescinding this today, I do want to spend a little bit more. I want Dirk to spend a little bit more time thinking through it, assuming he hasn't. I have some questions for him. That's my first concern. Is I don't think it is something that is. I think it's a change in the manner of how the mayor is selected. And then 2, as I mentioned before, I think in Councilmember Suffredin's point about being able to vote for yourself is I think a good one. I need to think more about it. But for city manager, I don't know if Council Ruggie found it yet. I do believe it is a lower threshold to appoint an interim city manager than it is to appoint a permanent one. And so for those 2 reasons, it's something I want to take another strong look at once it gets to council, but I won't be supporting rescinding this quite yet. All right, seeing Councilmember Suffredin.
Can we be clear on this motion and what a yes vote is and what a no vote is? The motion is to rescind. So a yes vote would be a vote in favor of reducing it to a simple majority. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we would rescind first. If it was approved, then we would have to, somebody would still have to make a motion to, what did you just tell me, to actually change it, I guess?
No,
Is that what you told me or no?
which was majority.
Oh, it would just revert to default, is that? Is that, okay, all right. All right, I think we're ready to vote.
Okay. Councilmember Davis?
No.
Councilmember Rogers?
No.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Mayor Biss?
Aye.
Councilmember Suffredin? And Councilmember Burns?
No. Where does that leave us?
5-5.
Die, so it
So,
stays as
yeah.
is.
Yeah, okay. So it was 5-5. It fails, I guess, yeah. All right. What else, what do we need to deal with next?
Again, when it gets to council.
Yeah, so now that we've determined that this is procedurally in order, we can look at the question of adjournment time and how the committee prefers we approach that. And I think the question, although staff would welcome guidance from this committee, is whether we want to designate a specific time in the rules where city council will automatically adjourn unless it affirmatively decides to continue, or whether the current approach gives us more flexibility and we should stick with that.
Any motions? Councilmember Nusma.
I just want to make sure all on the same sheet of music. So if we do nothing tonight, the rules will read as requiring us to adjourn by 10 p.m. in council and in open session and 11 p.m. in executive session unless we vote to extend the debate. If we do nothing tonight. Okay. I'm not going to make a motion. I just want to clarify that that was the case.
All right, what do we have next?
The next item was a question for Council Ruggie. We had asked if it was okay on staff's behalf if you could weigh in on the appearance of a conflict of interest versus conflicts of interest, and if that would be legally binding or appropriate.
Thank you for the question. So I think the appearance of a conflict isn't necessarily a legal issue. It is a decision to be made by the elected official whether or not they believe an appearance exists and whether or not they would like to vote, even though there may be an appearance, or if they would like to avoid any possible appearance and not vote. So the law department's always happy to discuss it with any council members, but I think an official weigh-in would not be appropriate as it's not necessarily a legal item.
Councilmember Kelly.
So I'm not looking right, but I think it also had to do with the language that I can't remember how the final wording was, language, but that we would include the appearance of, because that's generally the standard for conflict, is the appearance of conflict. Not that you would have to recuse yourself, but I know there was some, I think Councilmember Suffredin said council members would check in with Corporation Counsel. I would just add for either one that you would have the option to, I mean, I think somehow we don't have that word included anywhere in there. And I would ask that that be considered part of consideration of conflict is the appearance. Because that's the standard for conflict of interest is, if there's an appearance. Not that you would have to, but that would be something that should be considered.
Councilmember Rogers.
Thank you. I think in terms of appearance, I think if we state that, our relationship or whatever, we used to do this on Land Use Commission all the time, where it's like, I'm familiar with the applicant, or I know them socially, or our kids go to school together, but I don't believe that that will color my judgment in this particular case. I think as long as we're transparent with that sort of information, that's important to the public, as opposed to necessarily guiding off of the appearance itself. People will always find appearances where they want to, but as long as you are transparent and divulge if you have a relationship with somebody who's doing business in the city or something like that, I think that covers off on it. I don't think it has to be an official stated policy.
Councilmember Kelly, you still?
So isn't there language, something to the extent of what a reasonable person would conclude? Isn't that what we should have in there? Something along those lines, as opposed to, what a reasonable person would conclude, as opposed to whether there is or there isn't?
So I think I'm misunderstanding the question. Are you asking to have that included in the rules, or are you asking if that's included in the city code?
In the rules.
I mean, I would defer to the city code in this instance.
Okay.
I would also just note that that language appears in section 2F1, that council members must abstain from voting on any matter as to which they have a conflict of interest or as to which a reasonable person in their position would believe there is an appearance of a conflict of interest. So the appearance language that I think we were talking about is specifically about what Corporation Counsel would weigh in on. The appearance language, the reasonable person language is in there in a different section.
All right. Does anybody have any amendments to the rules before we vote to move it forward to council? So before we do the motion, what I...
We did have a motion to start this.
I'm sorry. Oh, we had a motion to start it, so we just need to vote on it? Okay. What I wanted to offer is, as a response to something Councilmember Rogers said a moment ago, is that I think the difference, and I could be misunderstanding you, but the difference is I see it on whether or not someone or something for one of us to consider when thinking about whether or not to rescind or amend is whether or not there's support to do it. I think what we've tried to do, at least what I thought we were trying to do with the comprehensive plans, like if there's not support to do it, you're probably going to waste your time and our time if you just keep trying to make an amendment where you know there's not support. But certainly if there's support to make an amendment or rescind something, I certainly would support anyone up here exercising this. Like at the end of the day, we got to live with the decisions that we make up here. And so I certainly think it's appropriate to just make sure you're comfortable with what you're going to be expected to vote on at council. And if you feel like you need to make an amendment, you should be able to do that or rescind or whatever you need to do. So just wanted to offer that. So we have a motion, we have a second, we just need to call the roll at this point, so we'll do that. Councilmember, before we do that, Councilmember Davis.
To clarify, what is the motion? This is,
I think we made a motion to move this to council, all the
the whole
changes, the
thing.
rules changes, the whole thing, yeah.
Ready? You're first.
aye.
Councilmember Davis says aye. Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Isles.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Mayor Biss.
Aye.
Councilmember Suffredin. Councilmember Burns.
Aye. All right. Rules will move along to council, and then I think we just start from, what, R1 was it? Or
So I will.
M1, I'm sorry? Or R1, I'm sorry.
I'll move approval of, or the membership, R1 membership of the 9/11 Emergency Telephone System Board.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? Councilmember Hedicatis, are you reaching? Okay, Councilmember Hedicatis.
Yeah, so this did not have very much information. So is staff just looking for the recommendation for the makeup of this board? Just want some.
Right now, there are currently in code, it lists that there are council members who should be appointed to this BCC. It's otherwise made up primarily of staff. It's more of a procedural board, and according to Clerk Mendoza, maybe 6 years ago, council members indicated that they didn't want to be appointed to this board, and so they just haven't been. So it's basically out of compliance with our code. So staff needs to know, should we change the code to put it in line with what we're currently practicing, or would you like to keep what's in code and appoint council members to this BCC?
Okay. I personally, I think we should keep it unless there's no one that's willing to be on there, then whoever wants to make that amendment.
Councilmember Davis.
Do we need the board at all? We do. It's like legally required, or, oh, okay, all right.
Councilmember Nusma.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there a community member currently on the board?
There is.
And so that community member is serving a term, and that community member has been duly appointed by, if not this council, then the previous council?
That's my understanding.
All right. Yeah, so I did note that the city code says this board should have 7 members, including 2 council members. The website for this board says only 5 members, which doesn't include the council members. So it would make sense to me, unless somebody on the council really wants to be on this committee, that we amend the city code so that council members are not obligated to serve on this committee.
If that's a motion, I'll second.
I don't want to make that motion unless somebody.
You got a second.
Yeah.
But let's go Councilmember Suffredin, and then you can decide if you want to make a motion.
Sure. So I served on this board in my first term, and there is value to council oversight of this infrastructure. I don't know that it needs to be a member of the board. Maybe what we need to do is figure out a way to rewrite the code to allow for extensive staff reports, something like that. But I will say, like, we should be paying attention to items related to public safety infrastructure that are covered in this board. So whether or not it has to be an active member, I don't know, but we should not abdicate our oversight of this space in municipal government. So I guess that would be a question of the city manager. What is the correct level of oversight?
Yeah, I was going to, thank you, Councilmember, for the question. I was going to mention with the fact that there is oversight of this board for budgetary disbursement, that perhaps one council member would be adequate. So at least there's one elected official serving on this board as opposed to two.
Or are we having a conversation? How often do they meet?
They meet every other month on the fourth Thursday, I believe.
Okay. Would it make sense perhaps for this board to report to Human Services, Finance and Budget, Administration, Public Works? I mean, the value of this isn't necessarily in having a council member who doesn't know what's going on sitting in the police fire headquarters in a conference room listening to whatever presentations are happening. The value probably comes from a more distilled presentation of the information. So I don't know. Let's give some thought to what the right thing is. But even if three of you wanted to do it, I don't know that we're going to change anything. And but it's important enough that we should not just say we don't want to do it. But I have done it and don't want to do it.
News in from Clerk Mendoza. She is asking if it can be staff only. The current resident, their term expired. Currently, this BCC reports to council, which we could also change if that's helpful.
Councilmember Kelly, you had your light on.
So I just wondered if there was any on the dais, if anybody is interested in serving on it. I mean, if somebody would serve on it, I agree that it sounds like there should be some connection to council, whether it's reporting out on a regular basis or having a council member who's on the dais who's able to discuss. So I think that's sort of the question before we vote to just remove that membership, to see if anybody would be interested, or if we want to table it to have it come back in a different format so that we are connected and informed.
Councilmember Manikadis.
Yeah, I kind of like Councilmember Suffredin's suggestion that perhaps we can have them report to Human Services. We already get the Citizens Police Review Commission reports on a regular basis. So I don't, Councilmember Suffredin, does it seem like something that could be distilled down into a report that's placed on file? Does that sound like, I mean, you have the most experience of any of it.
I mean, here's my recollection, and it probably needs to be confirmed. And this was, we had a different fire chief, a different police chief, I don't think anybody that I served with is still with the city. It is important for us to know what they're doing, but it's also unlikely that any of us are going to have suggestions based on our personal experience that will override any of the concept suggestions. And also, like, and Luke, you could probably speak to this more. From a technology perspective, there's a lot of like, keep it going, and then periodically big decisions that need to get made. And we should have some insight into the big decisions.
We actually do have a big decision on the horizon as it relates to this board with the toning system at the fire department.
There you go. So,
yeah.
So would, if Human Services, or if, I don't know. and I'm sorry, I'm stretching this meeting out, but this is important. And it's also like one of those things that if something goes wrong with something like this, like it's really bad for all of us.
Yeah.
And whoever is, so it's important, even though it's a little bit boring. Human services and finance and budget are, I mean, depending on the issue, are probably, but I don't know that you would have it reporting to two committees, but there's definitely like a financial piece of this. And then there's also like just how do we run our public safety stuff? So I don't know, Luke, with your knowledge of what's coming up, what do you think is the best way to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think my initial gut reaction was also human services as well. I think there is an item coming up on the horizon that we would also probably bring that particular item to finance and budget for consideration.
And just for, like, I went and looked at, the past, 3-4 years of agendas and minutes, and it typically has met twice a year. Most of the meetings are canceled because there probably aren't enough items to meet. I think, so there's.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you, Chair. I am willing, if we don't leave me in this purgatory that Councilmember suffered in, as we look through it, right, so that we can get a meeting going. So I would be willing to sit on it until we make a final decision of human services or budget and finance.
Councilmember Rogers.
I think there's a motion on the table already, is there?
No.
Or did you withdraw your motion?
I did not make a motion.
Okay.
I said if it was a motion, I would second.
Okay.
I said it wasn't a motion.
All right.
Yeah, there's no motion yet.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I think it makes the most sense to have them report to Human Services, but then when a big budget item comes up, like we did with the Axon cameras, that come to Finance and Budget for the financial implications, but to not have them report to the two committees, but just to Human Services, and then when that financial thing hits every 3 to 5 years or however often it does, that the Finance Budget Committee be the ones who oversee that discussion.
Agree.
Councilmember Davis.
I was going to suggest that they just have a joint meeting annually, or that they, I guess, like there is a joint, I think, a joint meeting annually with either Human Services or Finance and Budget. And maybe the meeting, whatever meeting you have, you can kind of break up into two parts where it's business as usual. And maybe the first part of the meeting is a meeting of all of those individuals, because the group is kind of small. It's only 4 extra people, so that's a proposal. Otherwise, I would second I'm up for Councilmember Suffredin's suggestion, but I think that it'd be better to have more than just a report, because I'm worried that a report won't give a full nuanced explanation of whatever discussion or perspective is being expressed in that committee. But also personally, I don't want any additional meetings. So if it was Finance and Budget, I'd be okay with a longer Finance and Budget meeting that included this, but not an additional meeting.
Manager Stowe, in your mind, this would just be another agenda item, right, on the finance and budget if something came up?
Correct,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes.
Councilmember Newsome.
So I think we're converging hopefully on a solution here that this committee will report to Human Services. What we haven't clarified is whether or not there are going to be council members on this committee. And Councilmember Harris has offered to serve, but currently we require 2. She's only 1. So that remains an outstanding item. And also, do we want to continue the requirement for there to be a citizen member of this committee as well? So I'm going to suggest we limit this committee to just staff, or maybe staff plus 1 council member, and have it report to Human Services. If that sounds reasonable, I'll make that as a motion.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Yeah, I would just point out, and I don't know the queue of people who have applied to be on BCCs. And again, having served on this is an opportunity to give a resident visibility into the police and fire world in a meaningful way. I don't know if we don't have a resident on there because we haven't had any residents apply for it, but I think it's probably worth preserving the resident slot, presuming that somebody wants to be on it. I mean, this doesn't, in my recollection, there's not a lot of like abstract policy discussion at this committee, but it is a very important committee. So I think just unless there's another reason I don't know of to get rid of having a resident be involved in this, we should keep the resident slot. How often? Yeah.
We've had one application in the time that we've been tracking it this way, which I think has been 3 years, and it was in October of 2024.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, this is a opportunity to demonstrate transparency on a police matter that has been public commented upon in a way that maybe if there's no downside to keeping it, because we can still meet with a vacancy. Yeah, all right. I just would say let's consider keeping it.
Councilmember Kelly.
I just wondered, I'm looking at the page now, and there is a resident, but there's no term. I don't know if it's first, second, third, fourth term. Or is that the one who applied in '24? David Blatt?
That is not the person, and that person's term has expired.
So that person isn't on this committee?
Great.
Okay, so there's nobody currently serving?
Councilmember Davis.
I think that we can find another resident. What I think is an issue is, first, I've had to have people apply, and our application is not very straightforward. We don't list vacancies well. We used to just have a list of vacancies, and now it's a calendar telling you when the vacancy's in. But also, if our website isn't updated saying that the position is open, why would anyone apply for a committee that is completely staffed? That's it.
Councilmember Rogers.
I think we're kind of talking in circles at this point, so I'll make a motion. I would move that we have the 911 Emergency Telephone System Board provide a report after they have met to the Human Services Committee and keep us apprised at council through that method.
And so remove the community member slot and...
Nope, I'm not removing the community member.
That stays the same?
That stays the same. We're
Okay.
just removing the 2 council member positions and having them report into Human Services.
I'll second
You are
that.
removing you will remove the 2 council member requirement?
Correct, because I don't think there are 2 council members who are interested in serving at this point. And so we're providing the oversight through their report to us.
But the community member requirement will remain the same?
Correct.
Okay. Could you just state that in one, or you got it? Okay. And more for the public, if you just
Right.
want to say it.
So the motion is to remove the 2 council members from the committee, to have them report to Human Services after they have met to keep council apprised, and we would retain the community member and make an announcement that that opening is there through correcting the website and whatever other means we have.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, can we just do all those in favor? Is everybody feeling this? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? All right, moving forward to R2, if someone can please make a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion to nominate Councilmember Hadikatis as a representative city council on a new City District 65 Facilities Working Group.
Second.
All right, any discussion? How is this going to work? Yeah, if you can, yeah, thank you.
So just a brief overview of this new working group. This is a collaboration between the city and District 65. District 202, due to the nature of them having one facility and they are not moving, are respectfully bowing out of this particular working group. So District 202 is respectfully declining to participate just due to the nature of their facility setup. So this would be a collaboration between City and District 65. Our suggestion over multiple conversations, and there was discussion last week at the City School Committee meeting held at ETHS, that it would be city leadership, 65 leadership is from a staff perspective, including finance and facilities folks. And then the suggestion was one elected official from 65 and one from the city. Councilmember Harris has expressed interest, and I believe Nicole Pinkard has expressed interest from District 65 to serve. And the idea would be that this group would meet hopefully 2 to 3 times between now and April 15th, which is the next city school committee meeting. And then we would report back to that group, that committee on April 15th.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion to create this committee?
It's just a
So
working
it's going to be a
group.
working group, okay.
So we're just looking for,
I saw committee, that was the confusion. 'cause
Yeah,
committee
it
means
should say
something
working group.
different. Okay. So just for all of us, but also the public, this should say new working group. Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. I realize we're just voting on Juan's appointment, which I'm fine with, but I have heard from community members who have got their eyes on this working group. So I would just ask if depending on the number of meetings you have, I understand that noticing it publicly, it's hard to get all the work done, but I would ask that at least some number of your meetings be noticed publicly, so you can also solicit resident input as opposed to just closed meetings, working group meetings, and then coming with sort of a baked recommendation, that there be at least 1 or 2 meetings that are noticed where you can solicit public input.
Councilmember Hedekaitis.
Yeah, I think so for Manager Stowe, I think especially now, just with this being, I think there's a sense of urgency amongst, 65 staff and leadership and our leadership to meet more often. Hence the 2 or 3 meetings before our next. I would imagine at some point, I don't know if this probably won't be something that we meet every month, but that's, I think the thought that I talked to Manager Stowe about is that we would have kind of, pretty thorough notes about what was discussed. I'd be open to having it be, having one of them open so people can pitch ideas, but I think it's pretty important to have, I think because we're probably going to be talking about real estate at a lot of these, probably being able to be free to talk about certain things. But I would be open to having at least one of those be open to the public if Manager Stowe is open to. And that's something we'd have to talk to D65 about as well. But
Correct.
All right. Seeing no additional comments, the motion is to appoint Councilmember Hedekaitis to this new working group. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any abstentions? Any nays? All right. If somebody can move R3, please.
Mr. Chair, I will move discussion of item R3, which is a city council schedule change.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, so Tuesday nights don't work for me. I work downtown in office, so I'm remote Mondays and Fridays, so that's why Mondays work for me. Tuesday through Thursday, I have to commute from downtown, from the Google office in West Loop, whatever you want to call it. And depending on how bad traffic is, it takes me an hour and 15 minutes to get up here. So I'd have to leave work early, which frankly, you guys don't pay me enough to do. And then even if I did leave early, like an hour early, there's still a chance I'd be late, especially when we have our 4:30 meetings on occasion, or 4:45. So I'm requesting that we keep it on Mondays, because that was kind of the expectation I had when I took the position. So when I talked to Councilmember Nusma, he said that he was considering doing this because the school board hosts their meetings. I know they're hosting a lot of meetings right now, but I don't anticipate that they will in the future. I think we should be able to stagger it with them. If they're also doing first and third of the month, then we can do second and fourth in order to flip-flop with them. But I'm sure they want to do Mondays because I'm sure a lot of their members have the same situation that I do where they're working remote on Mondays and Fridays. Because for people who do work remote and have like work flexibility, those are the days when you don't usually have to be in office. So I am very strongly opposed to this, and that is my suggestion for a compromise. My understanding, if someone else wants to explain it, we are doing this for the school board unless there's some other reason. Also, I think we have other committees that already, at least one committee that meets on Tuesdays occasionally. So we'd have to flip-flop that around as well, which, you know, something to consider.
Councilmember Kelly.
So is there any reason we can't, I hear your concerns, and I know I've heard for years and years about residents' concerns about having all three taxing bodies on Monday nights. So is there any, could we consider that, so we meet on the first and third to flip to second and fourth? That, I mean, I'm just wondering if that's an option.
Manager Stowe, do you have any?
Yeah, we meet on second and fourth.
I'm
so we'll be
sorry,
switching
I
to
meant first and third, I apologize,
Yeah.
sorry.
I think that's probably, thank you for the question. I think it's probably something we'd want to think about a little bit further. I think for some time, and I apologize, Councilmember Davis, I didn't realize you had the Tuesday evening conflict. And I think definitely getting off of the night of 65 or 202 meeting was certainly one of the considerations. I think another consideration was Mondays are already really intense days anyway, even when there's not a council meeting. So then to have a pretty intense Monday and then have APW, Planning Development, Council, exec session, it makes for a challenging day. Also, by meeting on Tuesday nights, it gives us an opportunity to likely put out a packet on Friday. You've got Friday, the weekend, and then you've got 2 working days, Monday and Tuesday, for additional follow-up questions or answers to be provided. Part of the idea was, frankly, a quality of life for staff and for council members, frankly, as well, that weekends aren't getting eaten up, getting ready for a Monday night council meeting and, a packet that's hundreds of pages.
Councilmember Rogers.
Thank you. I would just say, I think we need to be very cognizant of other meetings. I mean, we've moved finance and budget because we didn't want to meet right on the heels of council. And so if we're moving to Tuesday, we suddenly now have a Wednesday, Thursday, unless we start moving some other things back to Monday, conflict. I also would like to state for the record that I do work on weekends. So my weekends are not free. And so right now, even I'm, working Sunday mornings and still getting through a packet and everything like that. So I would want us to be very cognizant of how this affects every other meeting that we have going on with council committees in particular, so that we don't find ourselves stacked up again back to back. If there's a large economic development committee meeting, if we keep it on the 4th, that back to back. So if we move it to the 1st, that just basically negated the whole move for finance and budget to a different week. So I just think we need to look at the schedule as a whole and determine how this impacts everything.
Yeah, it looks like Housing and Community Development Committee meets at least on, I don't know if this is like the third Tuesday. Exactly. And then I'm not really seeing anything else that meets consistently on that.
Preservation Commission would be the one, if we were to move to the second and fourth Tuesday, that would be the one commission that would likely have to move to a different, did I say second and fourth Tuesday? If we were contemplating that switch, then Preservation Commission would be the primary conflict. That commission would have to move to a different evening or a different week, if you will.
Okay. Councilmember Sufferton.
I don't want to drag us out extra long, but what we're trying to avoid is having meetings at the same time that District 65 and 202 do. That's the goal here?
That's part of the reason.
Okay, and we need some time to figure that out.
I think if we're going to contemplate like a first and third versus second and fourth, then we'll have to think about rules and human services and some other things.
And nobody up here wants to do during a day, like Monday morning, 8 a.m. that's not something anybody would want to do. We're limiting ourselves to evenings. And the 2 schools are also going to use evenings. And we have committees and, okay. So like maybe we need to maybe this isn't ready to talk about. We need to.
It sounds like Councilmember Davis has a pretty hard conflict.
Yeah, I mean, I get her thing. I'm
And
just saying.
I also just wonder, I imagine, I'm not confident that we have way more committees and commissions than D65 does, so I'm not sure why they can't do any other day.
We may need a matrix.
So,
But like, we're not ready to talk about doing a particular day or time without, and you guys are meeting now more regularly. Maybe this could be a discussion there. If we're trying to have it change ready by
Yeah,
summer.
we actually did discuss this last week with them, and 65 and 202 are happy on Monday nights. So,
How many votes does it take to switch the schedule?
Councilmember Harris.
I was just going to say, we did meet upon it about this past week, and they needed to stay on Mondays. We didn't ask why, because a majority of people here were willing to switch to Tuesday. So I think we have to figure it out. I too leave work early on Mondays to get here for our meetings at 4:30, and I compensate working, later other days and going in. So that was a huge request from our residents that were parents that had somebody at 65, 202, and trying to attend city meetings. Excuse me, whether that's the opposite Mondays. I guess we just need to look at the totality of it. But I did hear City Manager Luke Stowe say Mondays are problematic, which we all know. Mondays, you never know what's on your desk till you get there. So we have to figure it out.
Councilmember Kelly.
So I do think, we offered because there's both 202 and 65 meet. So it seemed like it would be easiest for one body to move. Most parents wouldn't be attending both school districts. But I don't think we really fully engaged with them, to your point, Tom, to say, listen, we got an issue and work it out together with the districts. We came forward and said, we're offering to meet on Tuesday. And I think they were.
We did ask. I did ask, would they be willing? And they said no.
Would they be willing
to switch to Tuesday? And they did say no.
Or to another day. But to open that conversation maybe with them. We didn't, because we offered Tuesdays. They might not want to meet on Tuesdays, but maybe there's another time. I don't know. I just, at the last meeting, I proposed that we move it to accommodate residents and parents, but I don't think we really we haven't had a full-on engagement with the other districts to say, let's work this out together, so.
Is what you remember hearing from them is that they wanted to stay on Monday, though? That was clear, right? From both districts?
Yes,
Or was
correct.
that one of the districts?
Correct. Both.
Both, okay. So I think we know they want to stay Monday. Do we know whether or not maybe on an ongoing basis, we can just coordinate which Mondays? Like, does it have to be, second in whatever we say we are now? Can we be flexible within any given month while coordinating with the district?
You got to have a cadence for people's schedule.
Well, again, we got to sacrifice something if we're prioritizing public engagement, public participation. So again, I don't think there's a more elegant solution other than, from what I'm hearing, other than to say, let's try to work it out as we move forward. Maybe there's a way that Manager Stowe, you can meet with the district on the, just to see like, all right, for this month or for the next few months, like, how is it looking? Can we agree to meet on these days? So that's all I can kind of come up with.
I think we need to do a little further work here, and then we'll bring it back at a future rules committee.
Okay. All right. Was this for action? Is this discussion or action? I think it was action. So we'll table it then?
Yes,
If somebody wants
please.
to
Mr.
withdraw
Chair,
and then table?
I would table this to our next rules
made the
committee
motion?
meeting.
Motion to
You want-
discuss it. I didn't make the motion to take any action, so I don't know if we need
Well,
to,
it's an action
whatever.
item.
Procedurally, we could table it till next.
You could just make a motion to table if you can. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? All right, table to the next rules meeting. Our R4, are we at R4?
Yes.
R4, last item. Somebody can move R4, please, for action.
Mr. Chair, I'd move item R4, membership of the zoning code update working group.
Is there a second?
Second.
You want to You want to explain this one
I
too?
think Director Flax is here.
Director Flax.
I think she's going to provide a brief overview or summary.
Thank you, Sarah Flax, Community Development Director. The purpose of this committee is really to keep the process on track. It is not a content committee, so it's not saying what should be in the zoning code or anything of the kind. The membership would be 2 council members, 2 land use commission members, 2 or maybe 3 staff, three staff, and also some members of the consultant organization that will be working on this. And it would determine kind of the schedule. One of the things that we're putting into the RFP is that they would have the final sort of approval or proposal of the working calendar, the process, and then that group would meet monthly and maintain continuity of the work on the whole process. And also, if there are anything that comes up that seems to require more time, or there's something that comes up, that committee could weigh in and make a proposal to City Council, say, we need more time for community engagement. Okay, that's something that this group could recommend to the City Council. So it really gives sort of a organizing structure to the whole work on the zoning code, which is going to be a complex process overall.
All right, so I think there's been some discussion about Councilmember Rogers and Councilmember Nusma being those council members. I think Councilmember Isles is prepared to make that motion, so we'll go Councilmember Davis first, though.
Yeah, so I wanted to understand to what degree would, I understand like what the actual members of the working group would be, but if other council members who are not part of the working group wanted to have one-off input, what would the opportunities like that look like? So when I talked to Councilmember Nusma about this, my concern was that I have very specific interest as a 7th Ward council member because so much of the Northwestern campus has separate zoning compared to the rest of the city. So I understand that what we were thinking about when you guys are contemplating to a large degree is housing, and we have like a very like broad joint interest in that. But when we talk about the U districts and the T districts, those are all kind of in my ward. And so I think that I would like early input into what we're thinking about with regards to that. But I don't want to impose and be like, I'm not asking to be a full member, but I would still like to have the opportunity to engage. And so I don't know how working groups typically work. Like, is it okay for me to just pop up at one of the meetings, or like, how does this, what are my options?
Real quick, Director Flax, would you consider that content related or no?
Yeah, that to me would be content related.
'Cause I think, yeah, go ahead.
When we talk about process, one of my concerns is that, when we talk about process for housing, we do a joint input. Everybody kind of gets a say, we do consensus, but when we talk about the U districts, it's really just us deciding what to do with Northwestern as a single entity actor. And so I think that the process for that is actually unique, and I still want to know what our plan is for engaging with them, if that makes sense. And so I don't think of that as substantive as much as it is like, how do we plan to go about working at that out? Because I'm sure they're going to have big opinions.
Is that going to be discussed at the committee level, the way Councilmember Davis just framed it?
Well, I think we want our consultant to have a point of view on how to engage and work with Northwestern as well. So I think that would be a time and a place where you could be very much and should be very much involved in the discussions and everything too. So I'm not quite sure. This group won't be content focused. It will be just process. Is the process following along? So I think.
Could you give me a couple of examples of questions that this group is seeking to answer? Sure, go ahead.
If I could.
Councilmember Rogers.
Yeah, you have next up. So are you good, Councilmember Davis? You still?
I assume he's going to answer my question, so yeah, I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
Okay, Councilmember Rogers.
So this was an idea that came up because of the fact that When we were moving through the process for the comp plan, timing kept changing, things got cut that were, in my opinion, important pieces. And so the idea was to create a working group that would have representatives of the different parts who would be involved in crafting this document and guiding it through the process. So the idea was to have 2 council members, 2 members of land use, and 3 staff members, along with the consultant, to put time together. So we would say this part of the process is projected to take 3 months. This part is a week. This is a 2-month project. And so we would sketch that out at the very beginning with the help of the consultant, with the help of staff, land use and council, all sort of determining who needs to be and what, how much time needs to be involved each step of the way. And then that would be published as our schedule for doing the zoning ordinance. That then would be checked in upon throughout the process. So if suddenly the consultant, let's say, said we need an extra month to do something, then we would adjust the timeline appropriately for that. But we would not talk about any specifics in the zoning itself. It really was we've used the term an oversight committee to sort of guide the process along and be the people who, when there are pinch points, this committee would be asked to look at how to resolve those pinch points for us.
So based on your understanding of Councilmember Davis's concerns, do you think that would be the correct venue?
I understand what he's saying, and I'm all set now.
You're good now? Okay, cool. All right. Councilmember, let's go, Kelly.
Thank you. So, yeah, that sounds great. I just wonder if we could also have as part of the vote, it'd be nice if there was a chair in terms of being able to bring our concerns. I know there's one person that we're sort of disseminating our information to, or concerns, or what we want to see, and also to help kind of really guide the committee. And if so, I would very much, given his depth of experience, like to see Councilmember Rogers chair the committee, given that he's been chair forever of Land Use Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, and everything else, and is well suited. So, okay, that's.
Yeah, Councilmember Isles, if you want to include that in your motion. You have the floor next. Yep.
So I make a motion to nominate Councilmember Rogers and Councilmember Newsma to the committee. And if Councilmember Rogers is willing to serve as chair and that suits everybody, then by all means.
I'm happy to.
All right, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? That was our last agenda item, so I call the meeting adjourned. We're good. No, there's no other agenda items, so we're good.
Did you want
What'd you say?
to carry out?